Welcome back to the channel, USA Coins 69, an incredible journey where we uncover the stories behind coins that might look ordinary but possess jaw-dropping value. Today we are stepping back in time to explore a legendary American coin, the 1958 United States of America Lincoln Wheat Penny. If you've got an old penny sitting in a jar, stuck in your dresser drawer, or passed down from a relative who collected coins, this might be the video that changes everything. Because tucked among the most unassuming wheat pennies struck in 1958 are rare varieties that collectors dream of owning, and the one in your possession could secretly be worth an absolute fortune. Stay tuned to the very end, because once you've heard every reason why this coin is so special, you'll never rush past another old penny again. To understand the importance of the 1958 wheat cent, we need to take a trip back to one of the most beloved designs in American coinage history. First minted in 1909 to commemorate the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln, it was the first U.S. coin to ever feature a real person's bust. Collectors immediately fell in love with Victor David Brenner's simple yet powerful design, Lincoln on the front with Liberty and In God We Trust, and on the reverse, two beautifully engraved wheat stalks framing the words 1 cent and United States of America. That wheat ear design served for half a century until 1959, when it was replaced with the Lincoln Memorial reverse. That makes 1958 incredibly important. It was the very last year the classic wheat penny design was ever made. That single detail alone adds historical importance and massive collector appeal. Now, let's talk specifics, because not every 1958 penny is worth the same. First, look at the mint mark. If your coin has a tiny D beneath the year, it was struck in Denver. But if there is no mint mark at all, it came from Philadelphia, and that's where things get especially interesting. While millions were struck at both mints, only a tiny number have survived in pristine, uncirculated condition, with bright red surfaces and no signs of wear. These are the coins collectors chase. But the real treasures are the coins that escaped the mint with minting errors, specifically the famous 1958 double die obverse, one of the most spectacular and valuable errors in U.S. coin history. On these ultra-rare coins, the words Liberty and In God We Trust, as well as the date 1958, appear doubled, so dramatically that the doubling can be seen with the naked eye. The U.S. Mint insists only a few were ever produced before the faulty die was caught and destroyed, making them extraordinarily rare and valuable today. Even without a dramatic double die, there are other profitable varieties. Look for repunched mint marks where the D looks like it was stamped twice, offset slightly, or for die cracks that leave raised squiggly lines on Lincoln's face or across the wheat stalks. Barely anyone noticed these during production, and yet they can add serious value. Another factor is condition. Collectors categorize 1958 wheat pennies into three color classifications: brown, totally circulated, red-brown, and the most valuable of all, red, which means it still gleams bright coppery orange as if it just left the mint yesterday. If your coin is bright red and has never been circulated, especially graded MS 65 or higher, it could be a sleeper worth far more than you'd ever expect. The amazing truth is that 1958 wheat pennies have been discovered in all types of places. People found them in grandpa's coin jars, swap meets, estate sales, the bottom of piggy banks, or even tucked inside boxes of forgotten childhood collections. Some didn't even know what they had until they decided to take a closer look at the lettering one day, and what they discovered left them speechless. That's the thrill you're chasing, a simple penny that turns out to be a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. So what should you do if you want to go hunting for a valuable 1958 wheat cent? Step 1. Grab a magnifying glass and examine the lettering. Does anything appear doubled, stretched, or shadowed? Step 2. Check the date and mint mark. Determine whether it came from Philadelphia or Denver. Step 3. Look at Lincoln himself. Are his cheek and beard sharply detailed, or worn smooth? Step 4. Flip the coin. Are the wheat stalks strong and crisp, or faint? Finally, check the overall shine. If it glows fiery copper red, proceed with extreme care. It might be uncirculated, and it might need professional grading to reveal its full value. Coin collecting is part detective work, part treasure hunting, and part being smart enough to recognize value where others see none. It's what makes this hobby magical. you never know when the next life-changing coin will suddenly appear in the most unexpected place. Keep searching, keep learning, and never overlook a small copper coin just because it's only a penny. Today our spotlight shines on a true classic, the United States of America Lincoln Wheat Penny from the year 1956. This humble copper coin might seem like nothing more than a relic of the past, tossed into old piggy banks or hiding in coffee cans in attics, but among those seemingly common pieces are rare treasures with jaw-dropping value. Keep watching, because once you hear the secrets behind the 1956 wheat cent and learn exactly what to look for, you'll be inspired to dive into every jar of coins you can find. Who knows, your next big discovery could be waiting right under your nose. The Lincoln Wheat Penny is one of the most beloved coins in American history. First released in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Sculpted by Victor David Brenner, it became the first U.S. coin to feature a real person's portrait. On the obverse, Lincoln rests in a dignified profile surrounded by the words Liberty and In God We Trust, while on the reverse, instead of a monument, stand two elegant wheat stalks framing the words 1 cent and United States of America. Few designs evoke more nostalgia than that classic wheat reverse, and by the time 1956 arrived, the series was closing in on the end of its historic run. Now let's get into what makes this coin so exciting for collectors. In 1956, wheat pennies were struck at two mints, Philadelphia with no mint mark, and Denver, which placed a small d beneath the year. While millions were produced for circulation, very few have survived in pristine, untouched condition. Most pennies spent decades rattling in pockets, grocery stores, gas stations, and bank bags, collecting scratches, wear, and discoloration. But those that somehow escaped circulation, retaining their gorgeous original red copper luster, strong strike, and silky surfaces, are today the prize of modern collectors. Even more thrilling are the mint errors and varieties that accidentally occurred during production. One mysterious variety is the repunched mint mark, where the D appears doubled or slightly off on the Denver coins, caused when the mint worker had to stamp the mint mark more than once into the die. There are also dramatic double die obverse varieties, highly prized errors in which the lettering of Liberty, the date, or Roosevelt's profile shows doubled images from a misaligned die hubbing process. These can be spotted even without magnification in some cases and are among the rarest and most sought-after wheat cents ever produced. Even so, minor die cracks, lamination errors, where sections of the copper flake upward and off center strikes from 1956 also command attention. For serious collectors, color and condition mean everything. Copper coins slowly tone from bright orange to chocolate brown as they age, so pennies are graded by color, red being the most valuable, red-brown less so, and brown the most common. If you find a 1956 penny that remains bright red in appearance, with sharp, crisp hair detail on Lincoln's head and no signs of wear or spots, it could qualify as a mint state coin. Grades like MS 65, MS 66, or extraordinary coins in MS 67 receive massive premiums at auction. That's why it's important to check coin albums, old rolls, and mint set envelopes that may have preserved these beautiful red, lustered pennies for decades. Those forgotten collections hold huge potential. Just imagine the journey these coins have taken, from the mint presses of the mid-1950s, when rock and roll was just exploding, cars were growing giant fins, and America was full of optimism, to drawers, jars, and collections across the nation. Many were spent without a second thought, but a few have waited quietly for someone just like you, someone curious and persistent, to rediscover their hidden worth. There are documented cases of people finding unbelievable rarities in rolls picked up from banks, hoards inherited from grandparents, piles purchased at flea markets, or even pocket change brought home after a long day. That's what makes collecting so magical. That next legendary find could be sitting in a place you've never bothered to look. Start your hunt by carefully examining every 1956 penny you encounter. First, look beneath the date. Is there a D mint mark or none at all? Magnify the mint mark if there is one. Do you see signs that it has been struck twice? Next, check the numbers of the date. Do they look doubled or slightly shadowed? Then inspect Lincoln's face and beard. Are they sharp or worn? If the coin gleams bright orange-red without discoloration, protect it immediately. Flip it to the reverse. Do the wheat stalks show strong lines and no wear? Does the surface seem smooth and flawless? If so, you could be staring at a very valuable specimen. The thrill comes from knowing something the rest of the world doesn't. That value isn't always measured by how something looks at first glance. Sometimes it's the smallest, most ordinary, seeming item that contains the greatest surprise. So never pass up a 1956 Lincoln Wheat Penny when you see one. Examine it. Safeguard it. Today we are traveling more than 8 decades back in time to uncover the secrets of a truly iconic American classic, the 1940 United States of America Lincoln Wheat Penny. To most people, this coin might look like nothing more than a worn, brown penny, but hiding among these old copper cents are incredibly rare varieties and spectacular error coins that can make collectors' hearts pound. When you discover just how valuable some 1940 wheat pennies have become, you'll never see your change the same way again. Keep watching until the very end because what you learn today could transform a dusty old penny into the treasure of a lifetime. Let's travel back to 1940. America was still recovering from the Great Depression, jazz was lighting up dance halls, and the shadow of World War II was beginning to spread across the globe. It was during this dramatic moment in history that the United States Mint struck millions of Lincoln Wheat Pennies, each engraved with the solemn profile of President Abraham Lincoln on the front and wrapped by those classic wheat stalks on the back. At that time, 3 facilities were responsible for minting these coins: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, marked with AD, and San Francisco, marked with an S. While these coins were made for everyday use, to buy newspapers, candy, and bread, fate has ensured that only a tiny percentage remain today in the kind of condition collectors dream of owning. The first step in spotting a valuable 1940 wheat penny is to look at the mint mark. Philadelphia coins are the most common. You'll find no mint mark underneath the date. Denver and especially San Francisco coins are produced in much smaller quantities. But rarity isn't just about where it was made, it's also about how it was made. During production, a few extraordinary errors slipped through the mint's quality control. There are double die obverse, where Liberty and In God We Trust appear slightly duplicated. There are repunched mint marks on the D and S varieties where the mint mark looks like it has been struck twice. There are off-center strikes where part of the design spills off the edge, and die cracks across Lincoln's face or reverse wheat stalks. These mint errors are not mistakes you want to throw away. They are the rare fingerprints of history, and they can skyrocket the coin's value far beyond anything you could imagine. Even if your 1940 penny doesn't have a visible error, it can still be extremely valuable based on its condition. After more than 80 years, most coins have been heavily worn, smoothed over by thousands of transactions, losing their sharp detail, color, and shine. But a few unbelievable survivors, sometimes found sealed in old coin collections, mint bags, or wartime savings jars, still show crisp definition in Lincoln's hair, strong beard lines, sharp lettering, and gleaming copper-red luster. These are called mint state coins and are graded on a numerical scale by professional companies like PCGS or NGC. A bright red 1940 wheat penny in grades MS 65 or above is extremely desirable. Combine incredible condition with a rare mint error or San Francisco mint mark, and you suddenly have a coin that even advanced collectors will chase at auction. The adventures these coins have taken over the decades are beyond imagination. They may have passed through the hands of soldiers heading to war, tucked into piggy banks of children during the 1940s, or sat quietly in the pocket of a farmer watching history unfold. They've survived metal shortages, economic turmoil, massive coin melts, and endless circulation. That's why your odds of finding a valuable one today come from searching cleverly, through old jars saved by grandparents, rolls bought from banks, estate sale clear-outs, flea market lots, and forgotten collections kept in basements or attics. Discoveries don't just happen in museums, they happen in living rooms and garages when someone finally decides to take a closer look. So how do you hunt down a potentially valuable 1940 Lincoln Wheat Penny? Start by checking the date and the area below it. D means Denver, an S means San Francisco, and no letter means Philadelphia. Take out a magnifier and inspect Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, and the numbers of the date. Does anything look doubled or slightly off? Turn the penny over. Do the wheat stalks display bold lines and rich detail? Does the coin still shine with a reddish copper glow? Are there visible cracks, off-center rims, or weird bumps that could signal a minting error? If you spot any of these signs, do not spend that coin. Instead, protect it carefully because that penny might be worth far more than you ever dreamed. Coin collecting has always been about patience, passion, and the magical thrill of discovery. What looks like a simple brown penny to the untrained eye could, under close inspection, become a key that unlocks a fascinating piece of American history, and perhaps even a fortune. So dive into your change jar today, ask your relatives if they have old wheat pennies stored away, and don't be afraid to start your search. Today we are digging deep into one of the most thrilling coins ever minted in American history, the 1917 Lincoln Wheat Penny. Long before smartphones, space travel, and modern banking, this tiny coin traveled through pockets across a nation that was just beginning to find its place on the world stage. Over a century later, it still carries the echo of that era, and for the sharp-eyed collector or lucky inheritor, it can carry something else too, a shocking, life-changing market value hiding gently behind its worn brown surface. What makes the 1917 wheat cent so captivating isn't just its age, it's the era it represents. This is a coin born in the shadow of World War I, produced in a time when the United States was sending soldiers overseas while life back home was transforming fast. Every one of these pennies could have sat in the palm of a farmhand, traveled in the pocket of a railroad worker, or been spent by a woman buying bread or fabric as the country raced toward modern life. The design is iconic: Abraham Lincoln's steady profile on the obverse, etched with liberty and "In God We Trust," and on the reverse, those famous wheat stalks curving around 1 cent and United States of America. That wheat reverse, no flashy monuments or complex imagery, captures the heart of simple American strength better than almost any coin ever minted. Now let's talk about mint marks, the key to unraveling the true potential of your penny. Beneath the date, if you see no mark, your coin was minted in Philadelphia. A tiny D means Denver. Rarest of all is the S for San Francisco. The 1917 S penny is particularly tough to find in high condition because the San Francisco Mint was known for producing weaker, softer strikes, so surviving examples with sharp detail are treasured. But regardless of the mint, condition is everything. Copper pennies change color and wear out quickly over decades, so serious collectors will pay high premiums for wheat pennies that remain rich copper, red, with visible detail in Lincoln's hair, razor, sharp lettering, no spots, and no dull patches. Here's where things get truly electrifying: era varieties. During production more than a century ago, quality inspections were not as precise as they are today. That's why some of the most valuable 1917 pennies are those struck with double die errors, where the words Liberty or In God We Trust or even the date appear slightly doubled. These errors can be obvious or subtle, but when verified by grading experts, they send collectors into a frenzy. There are also repunched mint marks, tiny S or D letters struck twice by mistake, and off-center strikes where a curved blank edge intrudes onto the design. These are not flaws to be discarded, they are exactly the accidental miracles that bring top-tier value when placed before hungry bidders. Even if your coin is not an error, it might be special because it survived untouched. Mint state condition pieces, meaning coins that never actually circulated, are incredibly rare from 1917 because almost all were immediately released into use. If you find one in its original red luster, you're holding an American relic preserved better than most museum pieces. Collectors will pay intensely for this combination of age, condition, and rarity. Here's the wild part: these aren't just found in fancy shops or expensive auctions. Genuine treasure finds have come from dusty attic boxes, forgotten dresser drawers, jars of pennies stuffed under old beds, and estate sale coffee cans nobody bothered to look through carefully. Over and over again, people have pulled out what looks like junk only to realize they're holding history, and sometimes life-altering value. That's why true collectors always say, never overlook even the ugliest-looking wheat penny until you've checked the date and mint mark and examined it closely under light. So if you're ready to explore your own change jar or inherited stash, here's what to do with each 1917 wheat penny you find. First, flip it to see if there's a mint mark. Then put it under bright light and inspect the date and letters for any signs of doubling. Examine Lincoln's hair, beard, and coat. Are they flat or detailed? Check the wheat stalks. Are the individual lines visible or smoothed away? Look at the coin's color. Is it brown, red, brown, or still that bright reddish copper from its original strike? If something about it stands out, do not spend it, do not clean it, and do not carry it around. Protect it, get it authenticated, and be prepared for big surprises. Today, we're traveling back in time to the final year of World War II to uncover the astonishing story behind a truly iconic piece of American currency, the 1945 United States of America Lincoln Wheat Penny. This coin, often forgotten at the bottom of drawers, tossed into jars, and passed through generations, may look humble, but some rare versions are worth more than a brand new luxury car. Once you learn what to look for, you might just become the next lucky person to turn a penny into something unbelievable. The 1945 wheat penny wasn't just minted, it was born into a world that desperately needed morale. Soldiers were returning home from the war, families were rejoicing at the end of conflict, and factories were converting from wartime production back to everyday goods. And in the middle of it all, millions of copper pennies with the fierce, determined profile of Abraham Lincoln were pressed and released into circulation. Each coin features Victor David Brenner's classic portrait on the obverse, proudly displaying "In God We Trust," liberty, and the date 1945, while the reverse shows the famous twin wheat stalks curving around 1 cent and United States of America. It's a design loved across the world, simple, powerful, and filled with nostalgia. But while these pennies were used in countless daily transactions, only a tiny number have survived with the special features that collectors go wild over today. First major clue, you must check the mint mark. Look under the date. If you see no letter, it was minted in Philadelphia. If you see a D, it came from Denver. The rarest bear a tiny S, marking their birth in San Francisco. While hundreds of millions of 1945 pennies were made overall, production quality varied widely, and the San Francisco issues in high grades have become especially prized. Remember, mint marks are not just letters, they are keys to the true value of your coin. Next comes condition, and this is where many pennies instantly fall off the radar. After nearly 80 years of circulation, most 1945 pennies are worn smooth, slick, and dark brown. The valuable ones are those that somehow escaped wear, kept forgotten inside wartime hoards, slipped into coin albums, or tucked into mint sets. The most desirable coins still glow with their original red copper color, feature crisp, sharp details in Lincoln's beard and hair, and show bold wheat lines on the reverse. These gems are graded by services like PCGS and NGC as mint state, and a high-grade example can bring unbelievable sums at auction, especially in MS-66, MS-67, and even MS-68. But wait, the real fireworks happen when the coin also features a mint error or variety. That's where collectors start to hold their breath. Keep an eye out for double die obverse, where the words Liberty, the date, or In God We Trust appear to have a ghost, shadow, or doubling effect. Look for repunched mint marks on the Denver and San Francisco coins, tiny signs that the mint letter was struck twice in slightly different positions. Also watch for off-center strikes, where parts of the design are missing, shifted, or misaligned. The more dramatic the error, the higher the potential value. These little mistakes, invisible to most of the world, turn a common coin into a collector's dream. Hundreds of these rare coins have already been discovered in jars found at garage sales, in inheritance boxes from grandparents, or in rolls bought out of boredom from a bank, so never underestimate your own chances. Because even though millions were produced, only a microscopic percentage combines mint mark rarity, high mint state grade, and unique error characteristics. That's why die-hard collectors never stop searching. So what should you do? Whenever you come across a 1945 wheat penny, follow these steps. Flip the coin over and note the mint mark under the date, Philadelphia, no mark, Denver, D, or San Francisco, S. Check the color. Is it brown, red, brown, or bright original red copper? Look closely at Lincoln's hair, cheekbone, and beard for strong lines instead of smooth surfaces. Inspect the words Liberty and In God We Trust for any doubling or unusual shadowing. Flip the coin. Do the wheat stalks show crisp lines or have they worn flat? Look at the rim. Is the strike centered or shifted? Examine any letter that looks doubled or oddly punched, especially the mint mark. If anything about your coin looks sharper, brighter, or more unusual than normal, protect it immediately, because you might be holding something incredibly special. Submit it to a professional grading service and prepare yourself for possibly stunning news. That's the magic of coin collecting. Sometimes history hides its greatest treasures in plain sight, expecting only patience, curiosity, and sharp eyes. So go ahead, dig through that old coin jar, ask your grandparents about their wheat pennies, search every antique store and flea market. Because just imagine if you are the person who casually uncovers one of the rarest, highest grade, error, marked 1945 Lincoln Wheat Pennies. Your small copper coin could be worth a life-changing $80,000.